From your past, were you, besides, an entrepreneur seller, were you a user? Were you addicted to what you were?
I used for about a week, maybe week and a half.
A week of crack?
Yes.
Then you didn't do enough of it if you only did a week.
Well, I did enough to know that I couldn't afford to do it.
Mentally, physically, or financially?
Financially. When I went into the drug business, I went into it to make some money. And when I started getting high, I had about an ounce, which is worth about, at that time, maybe $9,000. And when I woke up, out of my crack week and a half roll, I had like $300. And I said, hey, you can't do this. Not for you. You in it for the money, and I quit. I never did it again.
It was that easy to quit. Wow.
No.
It's not that.
Well,
it's not really easy to quit, but
you were.
If you make your mind up.
That's what I'm saying. You realize, wait a minute, before this gets crazy, I'm quitting this shit
I wish
because I want to
could-
make the money.
I wish I could make money off of food.
The restaurant down the block
Well, somebody does. McDonald's does.
And how old were you when you decided that, the crack wasn't for me?
Well, not that it wasn't for me, but it wasn't for me to use.
That's what I mean.
I was
That
about
part of
20
it.
years old.
20 years old, right?
Yeah. But there's other people that's had similar encounters. I mean, I was at my first hemp fest, a couple months back, and because I'm off parole now, so I can go to the hemp fest and the 420 and everything else. And I'm at one, and this guy comes up to me, and it's an older guy, and his teeth was all rotten out and everything, and he'd been taking pictures of me all day, and I was like, man, what's happening with you, man? You want to tell me something? And the guy just came out, and he was like, man, I took your advice, and I just quit, man. I had this out-of-body experience, and the body that came out of the body that was dirty and all beat up looked at him and said, man, you know what? You're out of here. You got two choices, heart attack or a stroke. Which one you want to go out of here on? And he was like, man, I only got two choices. And he said, you know what? You got a third one, quit. The guy said he quit that day. So it's really that simple, but a lot of people haven't came up with reasons for themselves to quit. So if a person trying to get a person who quit who don't want to quit, you want him to quit, but he doesn't want to quit, you can't stop
If it was easy to quit, though, business would have been not good for you. So it's probably better for you back then, at least.
Absolutely.
Was crack the best drug you did? What was he? What I've never done crack.
No,
so
I loved marijuana.
Marijuana's the best.
I didn't stop smoking marijuana because I said, you know what, you can afford to smoke this. You can smoke $40,000 a week, and it don't hurt you. But if
Yeah, you were making.
Well,
he was making $100,000 a week.
Yeah. Oh, it don't hurt you financially.
No, I was making more than that a week. I used to make that a day profit.
But see, people don't know crack is no different than freebase. They just call it crack, and it's basically just freebase.
It was freebase
in a $10 form.
But it is
vial.
addictive, though.
Hey, listen, I was a crack addict. I know.
Oh, okay.
I was.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No. It's just one subject that I know, and we all know addiction in this room. Look around, you know what I mean? Food, sex,
I'm
gambling,
drugs and alcohol.
money, drugs, huh?
Money.
So,
Addicted to money.
But
Nice.
people
We're all
think
addicted
crack-
to everything, pretty much.
In New York, when crack in the 80s, when we were, I don't know if it was the 80s we were doing, we would go up to 158th in Amsterdam, and there would be lines outside, and they would just open a window on the door, stick it through, you give them the money, and it was like a store. And
Sound like
people,
one of my places.
Yeah, and it was standing, and we used to go to places, all up in Spanish Harlem and whatever, and it was.
You would just wait online?
So yeah, sometimes we wait online. Sometimes we'd pull up, and dudes would, come to the car, whatever. We went up to. We all have 1,000 drug stories, in nightmare stories or war stories.
Absolutely.
But
You
we're
should have
all
been at the
sober.
panel yesterday. You'd have made a perfect one for the panel yesterday.
Well, I got 29 years clean now.
That's good. That's why they need to hear from guys like you. One of the things, they asked me, they was like, Rick, why are you so blunt with what happened? I said, because our kids need to know the truth. They've been lying to them too long, so now it's time that we tell them exactly what's going to happen and let them make a decision. You can't give them half-truths and then get mad at them because they make a wrong decision. But you didn't tell them what was going to happen, or you lied to them. And I think that it's time, and I thought what they did yesterday was great for everybody You know, get all the truths out. You know, let everybody tell it the way it really happened, and then our kids can make decisions.
How long did you deal for? Just for people who aren't familiar with your story and who didn't see the interview on Vice, how long did you? Because you dealt in the early to mid '80s.
I did it for like 8 years, 8.5 years.
And you got caught. How did you get caught?
My friends turned me in. You know, my buddies.
The connection you had.
Yeah, my connect.
Did they do it because they had to save themselves, or?
That's usually the case. Yeah. You know, a guy gets caught. You know, probably somebody snitches him out too. You know, and then he needs to snitch somebody out or a few people out to get himself off. So, you know, I was the sacrificial lamb. He brought me to the police and said, "Hey, this is my buddy," and me and him made a lot of money together, and lock him up and let me go.
Was it kind of a relief in a weird way?
For me to go to prison?
Well, not to prison, but to finally be caught, because to live with that, knowing any day someone could be knocking on your door, coming from you, that must have been extremely stressful to try to go to sleep at night.
It is stressful, but I live with it just fine.
There's the answer. But how?
No, getting caught was the stressful part.
How did you live with it just fine, though?
Jail was stressful.
You had everything covered. You just knew how to just make sure, you know.
But, you know, in the drug business, you're going to get caught.
You just knew eventually it was going to come to an end.
Yeah, you're going to get caught. I
The
mean,
100,000, because I'm confused by that. You were making 100,000 a week at what age? And then
no, not a week. I did 100,000 a day. Yeah.
Okay, then that's okay. It
I
was
had
100,000 a
days.
day.
I had days.
Yeah.
I made $3 million went through my hand.
Well, yeah.
You know, just touched it, and then. But I was able to pull some of that out of that $3 million.
Right.
You know, maybe like off of every million, 200,000, maybe 250. Partner, who I was selling to at that time, because different guys had different prices because they moved different weights and they moved it at different paces. So I made different amounts of money off of different guys.
Where do you keep your money? All that cash?
Oh, in the mattress.
No, did you have like a fucking
safe house?
system?
I used to go buy these safes
Yeah.
that weighed 2,500 pounds because I learned early in the game. One time I had a little safe. It was about 2 feet by about 2 feet, and I come in the house one day and it was gone.
They just picked it up.
So, you know, I said, you know what? I'm going to get me a bigger safe. So I go get another one, and it was about 3 feet tall, and it was on wheels. And I come home one day, and that one was gone.
How much was in those safes, if you had to guess, when they took them?
The first one, probably about 30,000. The second one, about 70,000.
Wow.
Man.
But then I got smart, right? I said, okay. I went and got one that weighed 2,500 pounds. They had to bring it in with a little train, and it was on tracks. And then they took it off, and I said, oh, let somebody move that one. I know something. I didn't have that problem no more.
So did you go to jail for drugs or tax evasion or both?
Drugs. I was set up. You know, my partner called me and said, hey, you know what? I got drugs for you. You want to buy some? And I said, how much? And he gave me a price, and he said, and guess what? We'll give it to you on credit.
Do you remember what the price was?
10,000 a kilo. It was $1 million for 100 kilos.
Okay.
They did a movie about that. There's a movie out called 100 Kilos, and that's about my setup and my whole 9 yards. I helped produce it. That was the first movie I ever produced, and I produced that from jail, too, even though they didn't give me my credit again. You know, they like to take your credit in Hollywood.
In jail.
So wait, so this guy, Oscar or something was his name, right?
Yeah, Oscar Blandon.
Blandon, yeah. And who did
You
he,
remember?
I do, yes. Who did he work for?
He was a Nicaraguan Contra. He used to be the minister of agriculture, and he was a Contra. Contra was backed by the CIA, so he was part of the CIA army that was trying to what's that word when they fight a war and clean the people out their country?
I don't know.
I can't think of the name of it. But he was fighting the Sandinistas over in his country, and they were backed by the CIA, and they were over there selling drugs to raise money for their cause.
Yeah, and the CIA apologized for that recently. Didn't they come out and say that they were sorry that they did allow money to come in to the ghetto, and they denied it for years, but then recently they admitted it and said they were sorry?
They did, but they didn't apologize to Gary Webb or his family, none of the newspapers, you know, that went against Gary. You know, Gary is the guy that broke the story. They just did a movie about Gary called Kill the Messenger. They got my character in there, too.
Yeah, Michael K. Williams plays you.
Yeah. So the CIA did admit that Gary's story had the basics was true, but they tried to discredit him in other ways, you know, saying, well, he said they deliberately gave it to the black community, and that's not what. And that's not what Gary did. I think Gary said that it eventually got to a lot of the black community, and that there's a lot of black men in prison right now for selling drugs, and that he thought that it was wrong. So the gist of his story was correct, but nobody really knows about it right now. Nobody on the street knows that the CIA admitted that they were allowing their army to bring drugs into the country.
Yeah, but they say, crack and Freeway was brought to the black community, but, in the way white people were buying ounces of coke and powder and cooking it themselves. The only difference was that you would pull up in the black community and there'd be dudes on the street selling vile. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they were easy. They were easier to catch.
It was in every community. Coke. I mean, fucking.
It was.
And
Absolutely.
I
don't think Gary necessarily said that or meant that in his article. I think that people were looking for a way to discredit him, because if you discredit him, you discredit the story, and you take the picture off the CIA and put it on Gary Webb, and I believe that that's what happened. And eventually he was found dead with two gunshot wounds to the head, and everybody. He had lost his job. They took his job from him. He could no longer be a news reporter. It was just tragic, to have a guy who had all this background in reporting and the news to be gone. He's gone now, and I believe that he was one of our freedom fighters. Somebody who, he's the guy that right now with the forfeiture laws that they're still, back in the day, you could be riding down the street smoking a joint, and all the joint was gone. You had a roach, and the police pull you over and say, I smell weed in here. We're gonna take you to jail. So they would take you to jail. They would confiscate your car. Your car would be gone. You would go to court, and the judge say, well, how much weed did you find? And they say, we found a roach, and the judge would say, well, what is it? And it wasn't enough to test. So the judge kick you out of court. Well, your car's gone.
And they keep the car?
And they keep your car. Well, Gary's the one who wrote the first article to stop that and said it is wrong, that these people should be prosecuted. They should be found guilty. And if they're not found guilty, you should give them back their property.
Well, they were doing that in New York, too. They were taking cars from the people coming up, copping from Jersey and stuff. That right after I got clean, went to rehab, that's when it got famous in New York. And they were fucking taking cars and stopping. And, before it was just like people from Jersey. It was like cars coming in, just buying, and you know what I mean? And
what do they do with the cars, though, if they don't give them back to you?
they impound them, they sell them all
They sell
auctions.
No
Auction
kidding.
them off. Yeah, they have those fucking auctions.
Yeah.
Yeah, they.
I want to go back to how long were you in prison? Because that's a fascinating part of your story, too, because you found a loophole to get out of
I did
jail.
20 years and 3 months. After the 20, I said, I ain't counting no more. I can do whatever else y'all got for me. Just let it roll.
And how many more were you going to do if you didn't find this loophole?
I would have never got out. I was never supposed to be a free man again.
And were you able to read and write before you went into jail?
I was not, totally.
So you learned how to read. This is amazing about Rick Ross. He learns how to read and write in jail, and then he finds a loophole in his own case, and that's the only reason we're talking to you here in the studio today.
That's the only reason.
What was the loophole?
What they had did is they had charged me with 3 strikes because I was going around the country selling from state to state selling drugs, and they charged me with 3 strikes under the federal law, and it's 3 strikes you're out. They play baseball with people's lives. So, I got charged under that. But what I found out is that you can't be a 3-striker and only go to jail one time. It's like you wake up one morning, and this is how I told my lawyer to do the argument. You wake up one morning, you find yourself down on your luck. Your family's just been evicted from the house, and they put you on the streets, and you're out in a cardboard box, and you look up and you say, well, damn. Those kids over there are making thousands of dollars a day. And if I had a couple $1,000s, I could take my kids and my wife off the street. You never did a crime before. Well, you go out on this block, and the block is rolling. And you just start selling. Pop, 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 pop. You make, let's say, 500 sales that day. Technically, the way they were saying it, you were a career criminal. I said, no way possible you can be a career criminal in one day. It's not possible. So what I did is I said that my whole criminal enterprise, even though it was over an 8-year period, I had never been to jail before.
Wow.
So how could I be a career criminal when nobody's never told me that I did wrong and that I'm a bad person? I said, you can't do it like that. This was made for somebody who goes to jail, commit a crime, get out, and does it all over again. Then get caught again. Now he's a 3-striker. But for a guy who just gets up and down on his luck, had problems, and he goes out and he starts to sell drugs, and he sells drugs well, he's not a career criminal. He's just a drug dealer that did it well. And that's my argument, and that's how I'm sitting here with you today.
When you figured that out in jail, were you thinking that this is going to work, or did you feel like it was a long shot at the time?
Well, you know, anytime you go to court is a long shot.
Yeah.
Because you got judges who are prohibition minded, and they have to read your case, and they have to agree with your theory, you know. And even though the theory is in their book, they may not understand that theory, because I went into my judge and my prosecutor and my lawyer, and I argued the theory to them, and they all told me that I was wrong because my sales were from guys in different states.
Wow.
They said that made it different.
Yeah.
It made it different if you'd have been selling all of these times in California, you'd be good. But if you went to Ohio and made a sale, and then you go to Indiana and make a sale, and St. Louis and make a sale, oh, well, that's different. I said, no, it's not what part of the country you're in that sale. It's the actual sale and how the sale took place. And it got to the point to where when I went in the courtroom, I felt I was the sharpest guy in the courtroom. Let me be frank with you. When I walked in there with my chest out, and I felt that I was equipped with the law, the way it was wrote in their books, and that I knew it better than everybody.
When they let you out and you heard that verdict or whatever, did you fucking go, really? Did you like go, no shit? Were you surprised?
No, I was still in. when the verdict came down.
So when you found out you were getting released, did you go, what the fuck?
Well, let me
like,
tell you,
this shit worked?
let me tell you what happened.
But can I one other thing? Because I know the system works extremely slow. So you have, because you're going to explain this. So you come up with this theory. How long was it how long did it take before now you're a free man? Was it years?
I found out I was going to get out 6 years after I was in. I've been in 6 years. I was inside the jail. I was on the second tier at a maximum security penitentiary. They call it Lompoc, the New Rock, because Alcatraz had closed down, so this had become Alcatraz. I'm on the telephone, and all of a sudden I hear the whole penitentiary go up in a roar, and I thought Jerry Springer was on. Oh, because they love those fights. Jerry Springer, don't touch the TV and when Jerry Springer's on. So I'm on the phone, I hear the roar, so I look over the tier to see, what happened. And then nothing really happened on Jerry. And everybody heard on the radio that I won my appeal. And they was like, man, one of the guys run down the tier, man, you just won your appeal. So I dropped the phone, I run to my room and turn the radio on, and I hear him saying that the courts had just agreed with me in part and confirmed part of my case, and I knew I was going home.
Yeah, but if that was 6 years, you said you did 20. It took them 14 more years to let you out.
Well, then I go back to court, and it takes 3 years to get it actually reversed, where the judge actually takes it off of me.
That's my point. So from your theory to walking out as a free man, how many years is that?
It took 3 more years, so 9 years before I actually got a date.
So you have this idea in your head, like, oh my God, I think this could work, and then finally 9 years later, you're a free man. That's amazing.
No, not a free man. Well, I get the time that I'm going to actually do.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Because I still didn't get free, but they gave me
less
a date,
time.
The date that I knew I was going to get out. Now
Gotcha.
I know what date I'm going home because they give me a date. What's called a date. Before I got what it says life. On my paperwork.
And by winning the appeal, that meant now you have a date where you leave as opposed not you leave now, but okay, this
Gotcha.
is how long we're going to keep
Now,
you for.
and you said the prisoners were happy. There's no jealousy amongst prisoners when someone's released. They're happy for you. Like, wouldn't you think some guys would go, "Oh, fuck him! Why the fuck's he getting out, not me?"
Well, it probably was, but in jail, I'm like I am on the street. People like me. So the more friends you have in jail, the more people that'll be rooting for you, and the more people want to see you go home.
Did other people want you to help them with their cases?
They did.
So did you?
Yes, absolutely.
Did you get other guys free?
I hope guys get free. I hope guys get bond. I become sufficient in the law. I mean, I knew the law. I could read their books, and I could tell you what was going to happen in your case.
Did you convert to Judaism?
Judaism.
He's implying that all lawyers are Jewish. Now, I have a question. This is a case upstate
Is it
now.
money in it? Is it money in that?
No, I don't know because I don't have any.
There's a case upstate of a woman who helped these two guys escape in upstate New York, and
Oh,
she
my
was
God.
fucking both of them. Were there any girls like that when you were in jail that were fucking the guys?
It was, but they never gave me none.
No.
Now, see, I was one of those guys who was jealous.
Not everybody liked you.
I was jealous, right? No, they like me, but in order to get a woman like that, it takes a certain amount of time and effort, and I didn't really have that kind of time and effort to exert toward a woman. My time was spent studying and taking over the world.
But you went into prison. You weren't gang affiliated. You weren't a Crip or a Blood. You were, So wasn't there?
That's a tough question.
Well, wasn't there dudes that go, hey, you know what? My brother died or my cousin died from this shit. You know what I mean? There had to be some animosity towards.
No, not with guys in jail. They understand.
They know the game.
It's a bunch of us in there that do stuff that we don't like to do. You know. But we did it because we were in a situation and we felt we had to do it.
When you were in jail, were a lot of people trying to figure out how to escape? Did they all have some crazy ass plan?
You already know. You know it was. I used to hang out with them too. Hey, if y'all get out, make sure you let me know when you're leaving.
Because I'm gonna go with you.
I'm going with you.
Oh, so you would have escaped? Well, obviously, if you
I had a life sentence without the possibility.
So
of parole.
obviously, when you knew it was life, if you had a chance to get out,
anything
you were gonna
goes.
go.
Yeah, you take just one day of freedom.
Would you did you have a plan in the back of your head just in case that day came where you knew you could get out?
Well, no, I never came up with that plan, but that was something that was always thought about.
Yeah.
Like, oh, can we figure out on it? Are you guys gonna really figure this out? And these were some sharp guys who were doing this.
But I want to know about the ridiculous plans where everyone's sitting around and there's one dare I say knucklehead that has this ridiculous plan. You guys got to be laughing. I'm like, dude, that's not gonna work.
I mean, I wouldn't even talk to a guy that I thought was ridiculous.
Okay.
Usually the guys that I talked to were pretty intelligent and were trying to come up with ideas. But it's tough to, especially federal prison, it's tough to escape.
Where'd you do your first day out? Like, before you get, the day is coming that you're getting out. You know it's okay, June 1st or whatever it is. What are you doing in the days that lead up to that? Like, are you panicking that something's going to go wrong?
Not really, Dad moved me to a low security. But what the guard did, he played a joke on me when I got to the gate. He was like, Ross, your paperwork's incomplete. You're going to have to go back.
Those guards.
When you're leaving, do they give you the stuff like that when you came in? Is there like a 20-year-old pack of gum and a pack of cigarettes?
No, they send that stuff home.
So you got nothing. You leave. What? They have to bring
you
clothes?
They gave me a pair of pants and
they
a
gave you
shirt.
clothes.
I still got those pants. Too.
You still got them?
I do.
So they hook you up with shoes and an outfit, and that's it.
No, he walks out
some money
barefooted
too?
like Huck Finn. You fucking idiot.
I know he would have clothes. I didn't know if his
You said
family brought
shoes.
him up. Yeah, his family brought him up.
Well, your family
dummy.
can bring you up some stuff. But I didn't have my family do it. I just say, you know what? I'll just take the stuff they give me in jail. I'm just glad to get out of here.
Did you get money in jail? Did you leave with money? Do you earn money in jail? Can I say money again?
Yeah, a little bit. I conducted what they call conducting business inside of the penitentiary, and which is illegal. You're not supposed to conduct business while you're in there, but I did, and I got in trouble a lot for it. They would take my phone and take my mail.
What kind of business?
Videos. I used to help people set up videos for movie shoots, and I used to repair people credit, and just anything to make a few bucks.
Did you have money buried around the country?
No,
when you got out?
No, I didn't. I wish I would have. I don't know. I was an idiot. You know what they say? A fool and his money will soon depart.
Yeah.
What happened to that safe?
I would think you would just bury money around here and there just in case.
That's what a wise man would have did. Huh?
But so you had absolutely nothing when you
got out flat-footed. I think I had $200 when I got out.
How long were you out before you had sex for the first time?
Let me see. The van from the penitentiary dropped me off at the bus station, and the room was about 300 feet from the bus station, and I had a bag on my back, and I dropped it, and I took off running. It was about 15 minutes.
You got laid as soon as you got out?
Oh, as soon as I got out. I mean, that was the one thing that I missed about being in jail. If they'd had women in there, I would have been like, well, you know what? Y'all could give me 30 years, and we can really cut a deal here now. Let's bargain.
That's the worst part, right? Is knowing, like, especially life without parole. It's like you think, like, I'm never gonna fuck again. I'm never gonna.
That's it. That's the case, man. And I love fucking.
Yeah.
I can say that, right?
Sure.
You're the only one who can say fuck on.
Yeah, no, you can.
Yeah, but you could fuck again. It's just a different fucking.
Yeah.
that you might not want to
Oh
do.
no! I don't like boy. Well, I can't say that on air, but I don't like boys.
Yeah.
I mean,
You can
men.
say that.
You can say that.
Sure.
Boy
Yeah.
booty.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Boy
You
booty.
can say all
Yeah,
that.
but that's
what do
what,
you-
that's what they call it in jail. Boy booty. I don't like boy booty.
Is there any, like, say any three of us go to jail, him, me, or him, me? Is there any possible way that we won't get fucked up?
Well,
know-
well, it's a little different, with different races. Black, you're kind of cool because we don't have any structure. You understand what I'm saying? A black guy, he can be whatever he wants to be. He can hang out with the white guys. He can hang out with the Mexicans. Well, it's different with other races. The Aryan Brotherhood, well, they may not let a white guy hang out with brothers. You may not be able to talk to brothers. With Spanish guys, same way. They have rules. You can't sit at certain tables, and you have to be in these rules. And a matter of fact, a good friend of mine, Todd McCormick, wanted to hang out with me, and he got beat up for it.
Yeah, but if you're not in Aryan Brotherhood, like, I'm a Jew, so obviously they're not letting me in the Aryan Brotherhood. So
But you could be mistaken.
Huh?
You could be mistaken.
What, for Aryan Brother? I could be mistaken by...
Because when you come into the penitentiary, they're going to come up to you and ask you, are you part of them?
Well, they would see my goddamn Jewish tattoos and go, maybe not. But do you know what I mean? Like, there's certain... Like, if you're Italian, and you could tell a gangster Italian dude, he's not Aryan Brotherhood, who... do they hang out together like the Italians or the Jews? Or is there 12-step programs where they, like in AA meetings or NA, where they're hanging out together?
Yeah, absolutely. They have AA meetings.
So that would be the crew you would hang out with probably. If you were in recovery, you would hang out with the 12-step.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's
But
what
then,
Rich wanted to ask you.
but then when you're out of there, well, who do you hang out with when you're on the yard?
Those guys are going to be in the yard too.
Rich
right?
wants to ask
Well,
you
I wanna
which
know
one
is-
of us would get fucked first.
That's what he wanted to ask you. That's what he wanted to ask you. He
Yeah.
wanted to ask if myself or Bobby or Rich.
It's going the long way.
We get
No,
sexually
I'm just
assaulted.
saying, can you get through it without... I know you got
It's hard for white guys to not be a part of Aryan Brotherhood or people who they might think are white guys. It's hard for you not to be a part because they're going to come at you, and you would catch more slack from them
Then you would.
than you would somebody else.
Did you deal with those guys at all, the Mexicans or the Aryans? Did you have to deal with them in your day-to-day?
I did. I mean, you have to, and when you're in the pen, you share laundry, you share phones, you share TV, so you share a lot of things. But they try to separate themselves more than the blacks do. The blacks, they don't care who you hang out with. You can play cards with whoever you want to. You can gamble. You can buy drugs from whoever you want to. You can go to anybody's store because we have stores, what they call stores. I ran a store. That was one of my hustles in the jail, where I would buy a lot of my commissary. They give you $300 a month. Well, I didn't eat $300 a month, so what I would do, I would buy my stuff and save it. And then a guy would be out at the end of the month. He'd come by and say, "Man, I need a bag of chips. I need some candy bars, and I need a soda." Well, that's how I made my money. And they wouldn't allow guys to go to certain people's stores. You can't go to this guy's store. You got to go to the Mexican store. You got to go to the I was kind of able to cross those lines a little more than most people. Guys from this one would come over and buy from me. So, but it's tough to cross those lines. Like I said, Todd McCormick, who's a good friend of mine, he hung out with me. He ate at the table with the black guys, and they came and told him, "Hey, you got to stop doing that. You can't do it." And they put a hit on him. So one day, I become almost like his bodyguard because they can't hit him when he's with me, because if he does, it's assault against the blacks. Now you got the whole black population mad at you because you did it when Rick was with him. So one day he didn't come with me, and he laid in the bed, and 3 guys came in, and they had what they call locks and socks and beat him all upside the head, and it was sad. One of the saddest days that I had while I was in prison, to see my best friend beat up and bleeding, and he needs stitches, and we knew that they were going to put him in the hole for getting beat up.
Why
that
would he
end the
get put
friendship?
in the hole for getting beat up?
Because they had to put him in for his own protection.
Oh yeah.
Was that the end of you guys being friends?
And we was until I got off parole. When I got off parole, I was up in Oakland, and me and Todd has a big. Todd is like Johnny Appleseed. He's the guy that was giving away marijuana in California when it was still illegal to patients who were sick, and he was growing up in Beverly Hills in this big mansion, and he was just going around just giving out weed to people, and they put him in prison for it. And what's the guy who did the movie White Men Can't Jump?
Yeah, Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson bailed him out of jail, because Todd didn't have any money really. So Woody came and bailed him out of prison and said, you don't put guys like this in prison. And they wound up sending him to prison for that too. He goes to prison and he got beat up because he was in prison for giving marijuana to cancer patients. And I mean, this is when California was weed crazy too.
Have you ever seen the guy that ratted you out? Have you ever seen? Is he in jail or have you?
No, he's in another country.
Really?
Yeah.
So you.
Don't ask me would I do something to him if I saw him. And people ask me that all the time. I would have to say no if I would do something to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't give an honest answer. How about this? What would you, in a perfect world, what would you wish you could do to him?
Or what do you wish would happen to this guy?
Yeah.
Well, Jim, I've forgiven him already. I moved on with my life, and right now I'm having a wonderful life, Jim.
Yeah.
And you helped me too. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
You've been one of my biggest supporters, and my book is a bestseller right now.
Oh, good.
And when you had it on the show and you held it up, and people started buying it. So right now I'm really happy with where I'm at. Now a few years ago, I wanted to cut his head off. I wanted to chop him up because he took me away from my babies. He took me away from my mom. It was the time I was sitting in prison, and my mom would come and see me, and my mom was like 72 years old. And I was like, wow, you ain't gonna never be able to help her again. But a few weeks ago, I took my mom to the beach and drove her around, and she just has a wonderful time, and I'm just glad that I'm able to do that again. And I'm having an amazing life right now. I have a second chance. I did really. My story should be, Jim, it's crazy. America should be raving about my story right now because I know, and I know you might say, well, this guy's stroking himself, and I don't mean to stroke myself, but right now, Jim, for a guy like me, high school dropout, I shouldn't have never made it to the second grade. If they went by my schooling, I should only have a second grade education, and I'm able to do. I spoke at Brown University, full crowd. Two of the girls from Brown University was at the thing yesterday, and they came up to me and said, "Oh, we remember you from Brown University." So you're talking about a guy that was a total loser.
So this guy actually he changed your life in a way by turning you in. He put you on another path that where you're at now because you could be still selling fucking drugs or dead.
No. I quit selling drugs before I ever got arrested.
Really?
His case was entrapment. Right. I wasn't selling drugs anymore.
Oh, no shit.
No, I quit.
Right.
You're selling potato chips.
How long were you quit before it all went down?
About a year and a half. But see, the feds can go back 7 years.
God, that sucks. Why did you quit? You just knew it was time?
Well, I woke up. You wake up one morning and you're like, damn, you're a hypocrite.
Yeah.
You don't use drugs.
Yeah.
You don't want your girlfriend using drugs anymore.
Yeah.
Because I used to give her drugs. Use all the drugs you want. I got plenty of them. You don't want your brother using drugs no more. So now you know that drugs is not good for people. Why are you still selling it to everybody else's brothers and sisters and mothers and uncles and kids?
But what's your basis of your lectures? Is it recovery? Is it like what when you're speaking at a college? What is the foundation of what you're speaking about? Like you could do anything in life you want to. Is it a motivational? Is it prison
all that.
stories?
It's all that and some. My story is you can run your life, and then you can rebuild it again if you want to, or you don't ever have to run it. You could just start off on the right track.
Yeah.
The gist of my conversation, though, one of the kids came up to me yesterday, and not a kid. You know what? Who thought that was a congresswoman, Darlene something from here. She's a congresswoman from here, and she came up to me and she was like, "Rick, your book is so blunt and so straightforward. You're talking to the kids about selling drugs and about gangbanging and why they shouldn't gangbang. Why are you so blunt with them?" I said, "Because it's time that we tell them the truth."
Yeah. Why sugarcoat it?
It's time that we stop lying to them. Mm-hmm. Now, if they get the truth and the facts and they make a decision, they made it on their own with all the facts and all the answers. It's like giving them a problem and you tell them what's 12 times what. And then whatever they do, they don't know if they're right. They're guessing.
Yeah.
But if you tell them 12 times 10, now they can make a decision. But without the truth, they can't make a decision. And I believe that it's time that we be blunt and straightforward with our kids. And that's why I wrote my book, so that they would have the facts Nobody sugarcoated. Nobody lied to him and told him, oh, the drug game is wonderful. You're going to get rich and you're going to live happily ever after. You're going to get a big car and wife and kids and a picket fence, No, your ass going to prison.
Right. Did you feel when you were growing up you ever had a chance going the legit route?
Absolutely, I did, but I didn't recognize it.
You didn't recognize it as a...
So you got to be able to recognize opportunity.
Because I know you were a really good tennis player. How good were you?
I was good enough when I was in high school. There was people, and this is in '74, and people would come and get me. Rich people would come and pick me up from school in Rolls Royces, take me to the country clubs, and they would give me $20 to hit with their kids for an hour. But I couldn't equate $20 being a lot of money because I was a kid. I mean, $20 would last me a couple of days, but now my mom, even though she didn't have money to pay my bus ride, I had the money to pay my bus ride to school, and and sometimes they'd buy me a tennis racket or a pair of shoes. That was a good day's pay. Mm-hmm. I mean, if I would have had enough clients to do that, but I didn't understand that because I was a kid. So I was that good in tennis to make $20 an hour at 16 years old. So I was pretty good.
Yeah. But
I wasn't even able to evaluate my situation and say, you know what, you can make a good living doing this. I was out looking for a job at McDonald's.
And they wouldn't hire you or something, right?
No, because I couldn't fill the application out. I've never filled out an application before. Well, now I do. I fill out applications now, but back then I couldn't fill out the application. I go to McDonald's and what did it say right there? My best friend, I don't know if you saw my documentary, Freeway Cracking the System. It came out 8 weeks ago on Al Jazeera. I set all the records, broke all the Al Jazeera records by 10. They normally get like 10,000 viewers, and we had 100,000 every night for 2 weeks straight.
Good for you.
So when what side or derailed tennis?
I couldn't read or write. So when it was time to go to a college, all my friends were going to universities. Well, I had to go to a junior college because I couldn't pass the SAT. I couldn't, I didn't have the credits. My teachers had been giving me C's just to keep me eligible to play tennis in high school, but they wasn't going to do that in college, and it just wasn't possible for me to go to college with my knowledge and background.
I was fascinated too when we talked the first time. Like, how do you navigate dealing drugs in LA at that time and not being and dealing with this gang and that gang, and not one of them getting territorial with you?
Well, you know what? That's the great thing about tennis saved me. If it wasn't for tennis, I probably would be on death row somewhere. You remember Tookie Williams? I don't know if you remember Tookie Williams.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, he got executed. He was one of the founders of the Crips.
Right.
When I was a kid, I would have followed him faithfully. But somebody put a tennis racket in my hand. And then I stopped following him and I started following Arthur Ashe. So I credit tennis with being what saved me from being a Crip. So now I'm not a Crip. So I'm not on the streets of LA at all. I'm on a tennis court. So when I come back to LA, it's like 7 o'clock. It's dark. Go in the house, take my shower, sleep. Get up the next morning. I go to school in another part of town. I don't go to school in South Central LA. I'm catching a bus to another part of town. So in the morning, I'm leaving before the lights on. I'm leaving when it's dark. So I'm basically no longer in South Central. So my mentality is not South Central. My mentality is West LA. So I never gangbang. So when I come back to LA, I'm like a new guy. Even though I know all the guys, because we all went to school together. They got Crips and Bloods or family members that fight because of their colors. But now I'm 19 years old. I'm not fighting over no colors. I don't want to fight. I just want some money. So they allow me to come in because I never killed one of their homies. I haven't had a fight with none of their homies. I'm just a homie that's been gone. And they invite me in and accept me, and they allow me to go from neighborhood to neighborhood. I mean, they questioned me before. Man, you with them Crips? We see you over there with them Bloods. But I don't have any of the affiliation that creates the static.
And you said that drugs brought the gangs together in a certain way, right?
It did, because once we started selling drugs, I was able to get them to stop thinking about fighting and start thinking about money.
Like, look, the money that we could be making here.
Yeah, why you guys fighting? I thought you wanted cars and houses, and it was like, oh, we do. well, you got to stop fighting, because if you're fighting, then you're going to bring the police in. The police come in, your operation got to close down.
So it sort of made the neighborhoods slightly safer as far as the gang violence went.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why our community embraced the drug business first. They embraced it. They did. But what happened is later on, we found out that people were getting addicted to the drug. I've known guys who had what we thought were great jobs, right? But let me tell you how smart these geniuses was. They working every day, and then all of a sudden they said, well, man, I'm tired of working on my job. I only make $1,000 a week. You making $1,000 every day. I'm quitting my job, and I'm going out on the street, and I'm going to start slanging like you doing. And now this guy, he's using, though. But his $1,000 a week is not enough. You know, he wants to use more. So he takes the brilliant idea of quitting his job and then come on the street and be a seller, user, and you know, and get rich like me.
That doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
No, you wind up just smoking everything up, I guess, right?
Every time you get it, you smoke it all. You know, it's hard to leave the table. When they start smoking, they don't want to leave the table till everything's gone.
Have you seen people get shot? I guess you did.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw people got shot. I saw friends in cars, you know, dead, you know, and the police hadn't got there yet. I mean, on South Central, just like 3 years ago, right? I'm going down, what's this, Avalon. And I'm in the left-hand lane, and it's two cars. I'm turning left, and these two cars are turning right. So they're coming right by me like this here. And all of a sudden, we hear pop, 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 pop. And they shooting at each other. Bam, 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 bam. And I'm seeing them, right? Because they're coming right by my car. And I'm like, wow. And I put the car in park. I duck down like this here. And they just shooting. I mean, that's normal in South Central, you know, for people to be shooting at each other, for gangs to kill each other. Right now they have a slight war going on, and I'm hoping that, you know, that we can get it squashed.
So you still live in the neighborhood?
I do still live in the neighborhood.
How much of that sucked though, to go to jail and survive all that, and then you wind up getting shot like in an incident, like something that has nothing to do with you?
Some guys that happened to too. You know, I know a guy who got shot and paralyzed. Matter of fact, I was with him like 2 weeks ago, and it wasn't even his bit, but the bullet hit him in the back.
Why did you choose to go back to the neighborhood?
They need me. And I know Jesse Katz said, why do they need a guy like you? You know, but you know, his article he did in the LA Magazine, you got to read that article. The article is fantastic. He makes me out to be a genius. You know, he said he was writing my obituary, and I tell him, I said, Jesse, I'm going to be doing fights. I'm going to promote fights, and I'm going to be doing movies, and I'm going to have a book that's out, and I'm going to have a documentary that's out. You got to read this article. This is all fact. It's in the book, and we opened our documentary up, Freeway Cracking the System, with the tape from when he's at the penitentiary talking to me, and he says this is his last time ever talking to me. You know, he had to rewrite that story, and I'll make him do it again because he didn't do it right that time either.
Because it was way before you knew when you were getting out.
Yeah, I didn't know I was getting out. I still have my life sentence. But he told me that 30 days after he was there visiting me, I got my reversal. Because, you know, I don't keep up with dates and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not one of those people who write all that stuff down. But he wrote it down, and he said, man, 30 days after I left, you won your appeal. So I'm just excited right now, man. Things are going well. I just sold my first reality show to one of the networks. BET bought it, paid more than they ever paid for a reality show. They don't even know it's mine yet. I came up with the idea, right?
Yeah, we're talking to Rick Ross. John in New York wants in on this. John, good morning. What do you got, buddy?
What up, John?
Hey, how you doing,
Rick
guys?
Ross.
All right.
Hey, man.
I just wanted to ask this guy how he felt about, you know, all the lives that he's ruined. He's painting himself as somewhat of a hero. And for you guys in the studio, you have kids. This is the guy that you're going to try and avoid and to keep him away from your children.
Oh, not because of what he did.
Hey, John, let me say this here, John. I don't. If you think that I'm painted as a hero, you're wrong. I'm not. Telling you to go out and sell drugs is the thing to do. And I never ruined anybody's life. I never put a gun to not one person's head and say, hey, you know what? Hit this pipe. Everybody that got drugs from me got them because they wanted them. And
right.
They
but
chased.
you were the supplier.
Can I
Not
finish, John?
mind.
John, can I finish? Because I listen to you.
Oh, go ahead.
So everybody that ever got drugs from me bought drugs because they wanted them. And if we take the responsibility off the user, then he never has to have accountability for himself, what he does. We can always say, well, it's the user, it's the seller's fault, and the user, well, he's just a victim. No, John, it's two people in this deal, and they both are grown, consensual people who agreed to do a crime or to do a drug deal, and both of them is just as accountable for the situation because drug users created me. Drug users taught me everything that I know about the drug business. Every single thing. They taught me how to work the scale. My school teachers couldn't teach me how to work the scale. Drug users taught me.
And now you're going to profit from it.
Well, what I'm going to do, John, is I'm going to bless the world. I'm going to let our kids know because it's people like you who don't want to tell our kids the truth, who don't want our kids to know exactly what's going to happen in the drug business. And I think that they should absolutely know what's going to happen, and they should have all the facts so they can make a decision.
Yeah, and John, he went to jail for 20 years. You're listening to a guy who got out of jail and is giving talks now in places and gives talks in schools and in prisons. It's not like, he came in anonymously and is still selling crack and we're trying to get his website plugged.
Yeah.
He's the guy that went to jail for 20
He's
years.
acknowledging his past, and if you were listening earlier, Rick Ross, a year and a half before he got caught, he was out of the business because he kind of had a realization that this was something he wasn't into anymore.
Also, all of us in this room
It's a
are
fascinating
fucking
story.
Former drug addicts. I mean, I've been in juvie hall. You've been in jail. We've all used drugs. We've abused it. We've been where, the guy getting the crack.
Well,
So
here's the deal. As an ex-drug addict to this guy, I never blame the dealer because if it wasn't one dealer, I'd find. Let me tell you something. If I had to get drugs, if I had to fucking fly to another country, as a drug addict, you're going to get drugs. Okay? And my drug addiction wasn't because some guy forced it on me. My drug addiction was because whatever I was burying deep inside of me to cover the pain in life, drugs helped that. Or whatever reason it was. It wasn't because of a drug deal.
Well,
It was because of me.
It's like if you're an alcoholic, it's like blaming the bartender.
Yeah.
But alcohol's legal and drugs aren't. But drug dealers are basically
same
just
thing.
high-end bartenders selling people what they want.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you putting it out there as a user to know that me and you both we're just as guilty.
And I thought the best part of the hour was Rick Ross saying a year and a half before he got caught, he realized, whoa, this isn't for me anymore. This is no good.
That's because he had a safe fucking 2,000 pounds.
Or maybe he had a few million in the bank, so it made it a little easier
He was going to get caught, too, so eventually.
But you know what? We give everybody in this country a second, third, fourth chance. If this dude did 20 fucking years, I think he paid his debt to society.
and now he's using his information to positively affect children of like, hey, you don't want to fucking do this shit.
Yeah, what
This
is
the
what is
reality.
your what is it that's bothering you, John? Is it, again, someone that did 20 years.
Okay. I guess it's all drug dealers.
Did you have someone die because of drugs that you cared about?
Quite a few, and I'm sure that you do too.
Yes. What about pimps? Do you like pimps?
No, I don't like.
He's asking me, and I'm nodding yes. I do.
I mean, everybody's a drug dealer. Fucking Apple are in their way. Corporations, Walmart.
Hold on, I'm listening to the worst example
No,
ever
I'm
being
telling
given.
you, no,
Yeah.
you're wrong. You're wrong. They come into. Don't get me started.
Please don't ruin it
I
again.
know what you mean.
Please
Rich.
don't
You
let
know
him
what
just
I
say
mean,
it.
right?
I know what you mean.
Okay, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. Okay.
Explain the Apple angle.
Yeah,
Because how
Explain it.
Explain it.
addicted are people to
their phones.
to their phones, to their computers, to the technology?
that's true, but I've never. No one's ever sucked dick for an Apple Watch.
I did. and I said, you know what? Keep the watch.
What were the other shows you guys watched in prison? That Jerry Springer thing fascinated me. What other shows were huge in prison?
Would you believe Cops?
Cops.
Yeah, because you guys were on it.
Bad boys. What you gonna do?
This is my episode, motherfucker.
Oh, I can only imagine what they were yelling at the TV.
Yeah, America's
During
Most
Cops.
Wanted. They like
like
that kind
those
of
type of shows.
Yeah, man. It was.
Didn't you
crazy.
watch soap? I heard soap operas are big in jail.
They have guys who watch soap opera. Most of the time, though, guys have to be at work, so when the soap opera's on. But Jerry Springer was definitely one that
He comes in here a lot.
you
You
could
got to
get
come in.
You could get your head busted if you touch the TV when Jerry Springer's on.
People enjoyed a good fat girl / Klansman fight. All these.
It's universal, right?
Yeah, there's something about watching people just argue and then fucking punch each other, and they're not professional fighters.
They loved it. They
Yeah.
loved it.
Morton Downey was before Springer
Yes.
when he was on, and those were real fights on stage and stuff.
Do you miss the money like
what?
that?
Why are you looking at me like?
Because
That's a good question.
Well, you know
do
what?
you miss? Because I got to tell the people, if you don't know Rick Ross's story, in today's money, it would be about $850 million. I mean, we're pushing $1 billion that you made selling drugs.
You know
in
what?
today's money,
It was nice to be able to buy whatever you wanted. You know, where your family members can call you and say, "Hey, you know, my car's getting repoed. Come save me," or "My house note is due. They evicted me," and you can go and take care of that, or your friends. So it was wonderful having the money. But you know, right now I'm on my way to be that way again.
doing
on
it
my-
legit. When you had all that money, though, you had to be careful. You couldn't be flashy because that would get people kind of pointing at you too.
I didn't like being flashy anyway. You know, I don't need a piece of gold to make me Rick Ross. You know, I'm Rick Ross.
So what was your thing that you bought when you had all that money?
Real estate. I love businesses.
And they took all that away from you?
They did.
Oh, wow.
They did.
I love the car you drove around in. That's probably my favorite part of your story is the fact that every rap video, it has a bunch of guys like in a car, and it's got a pool on the roof and a tub in it.
And they're towing a boat, even though they're nowhere near water.
There's no water, but there's
What
a
video
boat.
is that?
A bunch
Right.
of girls with giant tits.
Right.
It's like completely obvious to the police. And you drove around.
Ford LTD station wagon most of the time, or
You're a fucking Partridge Family.
with tinted windows on it, and then I had the bird, like the corners, the ones who comes out and pick up bodies. Well, I figured out that whenever you pull up beside one of those trucks, everybody, they turn their head the opposite way. They don't want to look at a corner car because they don't want to be in there. So I said, man, that's what I need to be driving. So I'd be at a stoplight and the police would be on the side of me and they'd be looking straight ahead. They don't even want to look to see who's in the car. So it just made my life a lot easier when I did that car. And
Did you ever drive his career?
I don't know.
What do you mean?
Why are you taking the headphones
Yeah,
out?
what are you
It's gonna, it's gonna make sense to you. Fucking dum-dum.
How bad do you want to leave the studio right now?
Yeah.
That was a great joke.
Was it?
No, it was okay.
Stop commending
car.
yourself, shithead.
Yeah, exactly. If nobody recognizes it as a humorous statement,
Exactly.
then you have to accept all of our judgment.
Yes.
What the fuck?
Okay, let's do it again. He was driving.
I know.
All right, so what the fuck?
What is the book called, Rick? And where can people get your book? Because that's, I guess, where you're.
Promote him.
What you're.
I'm promoting my life right now. You can get my book on Amazon. It's called Freeway Rick Ross, The Untold Autobiography. You can get it at rickrossbooks.com if you want to really help me out. Or you can get it off my Instagram at Freeway Ricky, Facebook, Twitter, on all the social medias. The links are there so that you can find the book. Or you can just catch me in the street and get it. I'm going to autograph it for you. I'm here in New York. I got about 30 left. I don't know where I'm going today, but I'll be floating around New York somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
And
great.
the documentary is on. What's it called?
Al Jazeera.
The documentary.
Al Jazeera Network.
Yeah.
And it'll be on DVD in a couple months, so be looking out for it. Also, I got a couple TV series I'm working on with Rodney Barnes. I'm working with one, Snoop Dogg. And, Jim, too, we still working on a thing. I'm trying to do a drive where I'm going to start donating my book to kids in school. When I go out to the school, I want to get a whole school a book to have for free where they don't have to buy it.
Do they listen to you? Because it's like talking to a bunch of 14-year-old kids seems like it's very challenging. How do you get them to listen to you and actually say, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about?
Well, they love rap. They love hip-hop. And if you listen to hip-hop, you know who I am. You know my story. So many guys in hip-hop. I've had 4 rappers in hip-hop to take my name and use it. And I don't know, my name's probably been mentioned in hundreds of records. So they have a respect for me. Somebody asked me the other day, and they was like, why do the kids like you? And I said, they know they can trust me.